Social media can be a great thing for artists. It's been an important and an encouraging part of my drawing journey. But as part of that drawing journey, I've become very aware that there are a number of problems with social media, a number of areas where there really are pitfalls for the aspiring artists. And I want to share 4 of them right now. You see, I think of social media as a bit like having the Olympics all the time. We have this showcase of amongst the very best of virtually any artistic field we want to think of, any medium, any subject. We can so easily see world-class achievements, the very best whenever we want. And not just the artistic success we're going to see, but we're also going to see probably some measure of social media success as well. And that can also be a very attractive, a very appealing, a very enticing fringe benefit of our artistic success. And social media is a great opportunity to showcase our work to many people who would never have the chance to see it. And it can also, of course, open up possibilities for us in our art that we would never have any other way. But the problem, my first warning point, if you like, is that this gets us to focus on the end of our artistic journey before we've got there. We see the art, we see the social media success of others who've gone before us, and that becomes our focus. That's what we aspire to, not just the art, but the success. And while, of course, there's no problem with wanting success in what we do, it's not usually something that we start with on any journey, and that includes our art one. And if we're not careful, this sets us up to fall right over, because it's unrealistic for us to start drawing with this sort of success in mind as something that we can reach perhaps in an unrealistically short period of time. And this so easily makes us impatient, that we want to get somewhere really fast, that in all realism is going to take us some time, possibly some considerable time, to actually achieve. And I think this is why there is such an emphasis on tips and hacks and tricks and keys and secrets and shortcuts and fast tracks in the thumbnails of videos to do with learning to draw, because everyone's really impatient to improve really quickly and get to that end point of enjoying that success in art and possibly our social media accounts. We're all rushing to get to the end quickly. When I first began to have some measure of success on Instagram as an artist, I was really surprised at all the requests I would get for shout-outs. Not so much that I would get requests for shout-outs, but that so many seemed to come from artists who were so young, from 15 or 16-year-olds. And when I would check their accounts to see what it was they were wanting me to shout out on my account, I was surprised that so often there were just a handful of drawings that very clearly had been done by someone at the start of their drawing journey. And I couldn't help but think they were all in far too much of a rush to get to the end when there was quite a considerable journey ahead of them, and that this was not the way for them to get there. If we don't realize the journey ahead of us, we may just get discouraged before we get there. It's just not helpful to let ourselves develop the focus on the end result of success through social media. That will make us want to rush to be impatient, because that will actually help prevent us from getting to that place in the end. Which brings me to my second warning point. My second warning about the artist and social media is that being inspired by constantly seeing this end result of other artists' work, it can make me focus too much on getting to that end result of having the beautiful artwork and all the joys and the fame and the money that comes with it. And my natural mistake then, so easily to fall into, is to aspire too high too quickly, because I want to produce what I see. Therefore, I practice what I see on social media. But that often means I'm attempting things far above my ability. I become the aspiring singer who wants to sing the popular songs rather than the ones which will let me develop the best skills in the most efficient manner. Or I become the beginner piano player who wants to play the popular tunes that are impossible for me to begin playing well. And what happens is that I get lots of practice of singing or playing the piano badly. And I don't learn the skills I need to progress to that same end goal well. You see, what I don't do then is I don't develop a good learning process that's appropriate to my prior experience and to where I want to end up. The greatest disaster is when I've impressed myself with my version of a difficult subject, but I lack the experience to see all the problems with what I've drawn. It's great to be inspired and motivated by art we see on social media, but I need to then focus on an effective learning process in my drawing and to put those dreams to one side for now. I think this is why we see so many fad subjects in drawings on social media. The same sort of subject drawn in the same sort of way, the same sort of scale over and over again. Because copying fad subjects and styles seems like a quick way to look successful. If you don't know what I mean, how many giant single eyes are we seeing very, very, very close up all around us at the moment on social media? Focusing on fad subjects is also not a good way to develop a good learning process. Now, my third warning point is to remember we see the artwork, but what we don't see is the process that the artist took to produce it. Did they trace it? Was it hand-drawn, or is it digital art, or is it a combination of both? Did they get the forms through some projection device? Did they copy it from another drawing? Did it take 6 days, 6 hours, 6 months to draw? Did they have a pencil under drawing or not? We probably don't see the reference, so therefore we can't work out how successful or effective were they at capturing what was in the reference. We also can't work out the scale of the reference, the scale of the detail that they were using. We quite possibly don't even know the scale of the drawing, and therefore we don't know the scale of the detail or perhaps even of the line width that they've used in producing this end result. Are the skills that are being used here the result of 2 years practicing or 45 years practicing? Was it drawn from location? Was it drawn from a photo? Was it drawn from the imagination of the artist? These are all really incredibly important factors if I'm aspiring in any way to create similar artwork. Because if I'm drawing inspiration from this artwork, if I'm drawing a target to aim for, a goal to go for, then I need to understand the complete picture of what's involved with the process if I'm not going to set myself up to take a tumble at some point. If I'm drawing freehand, there's no point getting my motivation and my goals for my drawing, for my artwork, from works that are produced with a light box to get all that exact detail. If that's what I want to do, then it may be that I should be copying that process, but that's the process that may not be obvious to me from social media. Now, I'm not making any comment here on any method of drawing, but my point is that when we see an artwork on social media, we usually have no idea of the process that was actually used to draw it, or the specifications of the drawing, or of the references, or of the time, or of the experience. And my trying to use one process to get the results of what was actually a totally different drawing process is possibly just setting myself up for discouragement. My fourth warning about art and social media is that when we see really amazing artworks, we're not actually seeing the real reality, because most of the reality is edited out. Generally, if we're watching a process, it's been sped up at least a bit, possibly a lot. But even if not, all the dead, empty bits have been edited out. But they're the parts where the artist is thinking, is wondering what they're going to do next. It's where they're observing carefully the reference, or where they're trying to work out how they'll represent what they see in the reference through their marks on the paper. It's working out how to capture the effect that they want. All of that is edited out because it doesn't make very interesting viewing on a video. And the bits where the artist gets up and stretches their back or their legs or flexes their hands or does other exercises, because of the intensity of the concentration and the time they've spent drawing, that's all edited away as well. We don't see the false starts where large, big errors made quickly are removed by simply starting again. Or we don't see that possibly they've drawn this 3 or 4 times in preparation for this drawing. And we may miss the errors that are hidden and believe they were never made because they're not obvious in our sped up presentation. Unless, of course, you're watching one of my videos where I enjoy pointing out the mistakes that I make as part of the learning process. We don't see this in the videos, and this is the problem. What we're aiming for is not the reality that actually happens when these artworks are produced. There is so much we have no idea about, and this can lead us into developing unhelpful strategies and techniques, or it may just leave us discouraged. G'day, I'm Stephen Travers. Look, I hope you found these 4 points helpful, particularly if you're at something more like the beginning of your drawing journey and perhaps the connection of that drawing journey with social media. There are lots of really great advantages with social media, but I hope these 4 warnings will help you navigate your journey, avoid the pitfalls, and get to the place you want to go with both your artwork and your social media. But look, whatever you draw, however you draw it, for whatever end purpose you draw it, make sure you have fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.